Another model of reflective practice which is aiming to move reflective practice from theory into action is the Atkins and Murphy model. And this model attempts to try to address some of the criticisms of Booth's triangular representation. And we can see the model here. It has 5 components: awareness, describing the situation, analyzing the feelings and the knowledge associated with that situation, evaluating the relevance of the knowledge within that situation, and then identifying the learning which comes from that. And we'll look at these in some detail. Atkins and Murphy model, you can see, therefore has 5 stages to it, and the stages link together in a cycle. Stage 1 is very much about the teacher becoming aware of some need for change because of some uncomfortable feelings due to the situation that they're confronted by. Stage 2 then comes from stage 1, and stage 2 is about the teacher examining those feelings and the components in the situation which generate those feelings. Stage 3 leads then into analysis of the situation based on the evaluation. And then into stage 4, there is some sort of conclusion, a summary of what all those feelings and all that thinking generates. And then finally into stage 5, which is the learning stage, what the teacher has actually gathered from that experience. So this model attempts to provide a deep level of support for the reflective practitioner, more so than other models try to do. We must remember that this is not to say that the other models that exist about reflective practice are redundant or a waste of time. This is just another way for the teacher to think about their role in the classroom. What is important is to realize that as a reflective practitioner, part of your role, part of your duty, is to critique not only yourself and what is happening in the classroom, but also to add to the critique on the models which can be used for reflective practice. Atkins and Murphy suggest then that any sort of reflection is not useful unless the teacher has a real commitment to action. Action is what reflective practice is all about. And they make an interesting connection in relation to action here, which is action can happen after the event, but it can also happen before the event as well, in terms of planning and preparation. So we must remember in this model that it is actually trying to make a connection not only with the reflective process, but the actions that the teacher needs to take in the classroom. So looking at it in a little bit more detail, self-awareness, they also label as being mindful, the teacher being mindful of what is taking place in the classroom and their own role in that. And it is very much about linking personal reflections and sensations to what is taking place. And in this sense, there is a real commitment by the teacher to ownership of those feelings and sensations. What is happening in the classroom is not happening outside of themselves. They are part of what is taking place. There is therefore this recognition that there is a connection not only between the students in the classroom and the actions, but also the teacher's role in that. What this clearly involves then, on the teacher's perspective, is the need for honesty and truthfulness in relation to what is happening in the classroom. There's no point in this model in superficially looking at what is taking place. It does need a very critical, honest and truthful reflection. Leading into the description phase, this needs to be very comprehensive, very thorough, very thoughtful, not only of a particular incident, but the context, the situation in which the incident occurs. And the events, therefore, are seen as part of a greater whole, something which is much bigger, not an isolated incident, but part of a bigger picture for the teacher. This takes us into critical analysis as a reflective practitioner. And perhaps in this model, this is the most significant component, because it does recognize that the teacher, as an individual, is identifying a very personal cognitive and affective feelings schema within what is happening. There is a connection between the intellectual and the emotional. And therefore, there has to be for the teacher some sort of recognition of the values and the beliefs and the assumptions they have about teaching and about learning, about education as a whole, and how these can impact on what is happening in the classroom. From the critical analysis, there has to be some sort of action and learning. And in terms of learning for the teacher, this means there's a synthesis of the experience, what they've picked up, and the actual theories and the literature that they've been exposed to during training. From this learning, finally, there comes evaluation. What is the outcome? And the evaluation is very much about confirming, validating what the teacher thought, whether this thinking was correct about something or incorrect about something, so that the cycle actually continues.